Welcome back, Savages. Tonight we're talking about time slips. Why they happen, when they happen, and our experiences with them. So, time slips.
Yes.
I feel like I have that every day, but that's just my
Right.
ADHD kicking in.
That's
But
just my time blindness.
Right?
I kind of feel like I have Groundhog Day
Syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But time slips, we know, are one of the big things in the paranormal community. A lot of people contribute it to the owls.
Yeah.
We don't talk about the other things.
Yeah. There is a guy who we'll talk about later who has a theory on what they are, and it does not involve the owl. He might.
Okay.
I didn't see a picture of him, so he might.
He only does in his spare time.
Right.
Yeah.
Only when he's not on camera.
Right.
Or he wears a baseball cap and he's got it shoved up in there so you don't know.
Now, we're going to look at people with a baseball cap and go,
You can always tell who they are, though. You can.
You can.
You can.
It's very obvious.
Yes. But it's in the sky.
And they get murdered because that's what you do when you got a bunch of people out in the middle of nowhere.
Either that or they're engaging in some pharmaceuticals and they are seeing the lights in the sky. Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few that are... There's smoke coming from their camper. They're the fun ones.
Yeah.
But there have been a lot of cases where it's been proven. I mean, there are stories of kids that are just driving around and all of a sudden they're in one spot. They end up in another. And I mean, there have been stories where people have even switched positions in the car that they were in. I mean, so there was one person that was driving, one person that was passenger, and the person that was in the rear, and all of a sudden they're in completely different spots. It's 3.5 hours later, and everybody's like, "Where's Waldo?"
Yeah.
I've also heard stories of not only different positions, but like your clothes are on wrong, like your shirt's on backwards, or your shoes are on the wrong feet, or whatnot.
Yeah.
I feel like if something takes you and takes your clothes, that's
That's a big red flag right there.
that's against the law.
I have a story. Okay, so no, this guy. This was in 1973.
To use height. Okay.
So he was driving home from a dance. It was 2 a.m.
Yeah. So he was drunk.
Supposedly he was not drunk because they don't say his age, so
Right.
I don't know. B, he was interviewed after. Granted, by the time he figured out where he was sober, because we're talking from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m.
Oh, that's a big chunk of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
But supposedly he was not intoxicated, so he was driving home. After passing a church, he lost all sense of time. He found himself on foot at this...
He lost his time and his car.
Yeah. He was in Little Houghton, England, when he came to or realized whatever. He was in a place called Bromham, which was many miles away. His car was gone. He was soaking wet. It was not raining. And he had no clue what had happened. None. And it was now 7 a.m. They found
So Jesus kidnapped him and then washed him down and then left him.
Yes.
So it's Jesus.
Yes. He was
He
baptized.
is Jesus.
He was baptized.
Yeah.
I made it happen right in front of a church.
Right. His car was found in a muddy field. It was a 15...
So the three wise men took him. Mm-hmm.
It was a 15-minute drive from where his car was found versus him.
But how long of a walk? Because I feel like that would make up a lot of your missing time.
I don't know. Let's do basic math.
Just
So
hypothetical.
a 15-minute car ride would be about from here to work.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
It's about an hour walk if you want to
Yeah,
walk
so that still doesn't add up.
it. Right, yeah,
Yeah.
because you're still missing
But
hours.
the funniest thing is, there was another guy by the name of Paul, different last name, who had the same thing happen in 1988.
So it happened twice.
Yes.
Did Paul go against Jesus at all? Was that a name in the Bible?
It was a name in the Bible. So maybe he's just working with him. And he had to disappear to do some baptisms.
Jesus is like, oh, hey, I know you. Oh, wrong one.
You are not the Paul I'm looking for.
But apparently
This is not the Paul you're looking for.
This little area here is like a popular area. But there's another one, like almost in the same chunk of the world, that's a very popular area. And this one they give a lot of credit to because the guy it happened to was a police officer.
I have heard about that one.
Yes.
That one is very popular across all of the paranormal podcasts, books, YouTube channels, everything. Because from what I learned, because not every podcast and every book and every YouTube channel tells like the same way.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So basically the gist of what I got from this was that he was, I think, in his cruiser, he got out because he saw something, and then next thing you know, it's like hours later, nobody knew where he was, nobody could like get a hold of him on the radio.
This one's a different one, but yes, I did see that one too.
And he was they tried to discredit him, and that happened to a lot of the police officers and whatnot in the UK.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of them were discredited or tried to make to seem like they were crazy, which police officers, EMTs, doctors, scientists,
they are known for their attention to detail.
Right.
Yeah.
Observing things.
And
Right.
they know that if they, look crazy, they'll probably lose their job.
Exactly.
So this one, that's why people put so much stock into what he said, because he could backtrack everything that happened to him here, and there were facts to go back to, and the fact that he was a police officer, he is trained to notice things, blah blah blah.
Right.
So he was on his way to meet his wife at a bookstore after work, whatever. And as he was going, he almost got hit by a small truck that was a 1950s style truck. This was in 1996. Okay, whatever. People drive old cars. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So as he narrowly misses this, he goes to walk into the bookstore, and he looks, and there's a sign above the bookstore that says Cripps, CRIPPS. The name of the bookstore was Dylan's. So he's like, okay. So he looks in the window, and in the window, it's all shoes and purses.
Weird looking books.
And there's only one other person that does not have on the mid-century clothing. As he walks in the store, boom, back to 1996 in the store called Dylan's. So
he had like a whole other,
yeah,
like he had a whole time slip thing.
yes. So when he went back and looked, there was a store named Cripps in this exact location in the 1950s.
Let's nice that he could go back into the history and be like, oh, hey, look.
Yeah.
Like, and especially if he didn't know it prior, that gives so much more credibility because you're like, hey, have you heard of this store in this location? They're like, actually.
That's like wild, though.
Yeah, that's very.
I thought that one was pretty cool. I've got two
yeah.
other ones we'll talk about later that's wild. That one was in Liverpool, I believe.
I'm not surprised.
But that is...
I think in all of the paranormal books that I've read about things, Liverpool is definitely
that is
the go-to.
Well, that is a hotbed for time slips in particular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
haunted pubs, haunted hotels, or
Heck yeah.
B&Bs, because I don't know if they have a lot of hotels, but I know they
know.
still have like bed and breakfast type things, and it's very haunted.
Okay, so I have another one. This one is kind of trippy.
Oh boy.
The last one wasn't?
This one's even kind of more so. This one was in the late 60s to 70s, somewhere in that time frame.
And drugs were great.
Yeah. This one, they did not give a location for it happening. So there was a guy going from point A to point B, decided, all right, I need some gas. We're going to stop. We're on this deserted road, first gas station I see. So he pulls in and he notices the first thing. He's like, wow, this is kind of a weird gas station. They have like the really, really old style gas pumps. Whatever, I need gas. I'm not going to keep looking.
Right.
So he goes in, like, this place looks really weird. He goes up to the counter, and there's a guy standing at the counter who's just standing there with his hands on the counter, total dead face, staring. Not even acknowledging the guy standing in front of him. Nothing. And he's like, you know, hello? So he's looking around trying to figure out what's going on. He looks outside, and he's like, why does it look so weird outside? It looks like it's about to storm. It's like gray and yucky looking. And then right as he does that, the guy at the counter starts whispering something that he totally could not even understand what the guy was saying.
Nope.
Don't
At
start
that
whispering
point-
at me.
Right. So at that
I'd
point,
leave.
he turns around, he books it at the gas station.
Good job.
And he gets back in his car and gets to wherever he's going. And he's talking to people. And he's like, have you guys ever been to this weird gas station down the road, you know? And everybody's like, no, there hasn't been a gas station there in like eons. So him and a couple people, they get in his car and they backtrack how he came. Nothing.
I've heard of that though. It happens to a lot of like truckers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens to like a lot of truck drivers, a lot of people traveling for like hours at a time, that a lot of people say they have gone to like restaurants, gas stations, or even like little gift shops, pull over just to like take a break or whatnot, and everything almost seems like it's in like a different era, and the people are just like going about their day like they're not even there. I know there was a story about how a guy went into a diner. He sat down at the counter, wanted to like order like a cup of coffee or something, and nobody acknowledged him.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, you know, can I get something? Da da da. And he said he sat there for a good like half hour, and nobody like I mean, it was hustle and bustle. There were people coming in and out of the door.
Yeah.
And they were served and whatnot, but he wasn't.
That sounds more
So he
like a dimension.
yeah, so he left, he got in his car, drove down the road, went to like a gas station I think that was down there, and was like, yo, these people at their diner are like really weird. And I guess one of the gas attendants was like, there is no diner down there. To this day, he's never been able to like find it since.
Wow.
And I've heard of that. I mean, I've even like driving at nighttime for like long hours. You almost feel like you're in a different
You really
like,
do.
Yeah.
area or like different time altogether, because you're so focused on what you're doing that everything around you just seems like it changes.
Well, and when you are that focused, depending on, you know, what else is going on in the universe at that time, it is possible to jump dimensions or timelines or whatever you want.
I mean, I wholeheartedly believe that. If you focus enough of your attention and your energy on things change.
Right, and especially if you're driving at night and you're so focused and all you're thinking is, man,
I want
I
to get
wish
home.
something would pop up so I could go to the bathroom or get a cup of coffee or whatever. You think it, and there you go.
Right. You have those, especially like if you're traveling from like state to state, you don't know the roads in other states.
Yeah.
You're not familiar with the things that are around you in other states. So you just, okay, I need to get from point A to point B, like this is where I'm supposed to be. and then all of a sudden you're just like, where did I go? Like, I wholeheartedly feel that. Like,
That
driving.
happened to me once driving home, of all things, from work.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't even live that far away.
I know. I was driving down the main road going from work to home, and I'm driving, and all of a sudden I look around. I had no freaking idea where I was. Nothing looked familiar, and I was like literally starting to panic.
Well, yeah.
I'm like, here. How did I?
It's one road. You no turns, no nothing. One road.
And then as fast as that happened,
Yeah.
tell me about it.
It's the simulation where somebody messed up and
The
was
code
like, oh,
broke.
We're not.
G,
No,
G,
la
G,
la
gotta go
la.
back.
I don't talk about that stuff.
Hit the escape space G and we're back.
Control delete.
Yeah.
Well, if we're doing that, can I have an easy button?
No,
That's
that's not how that works.
Yeah, great, thanks.
It's called a cheat code.
I'm convinced the universe has one.
Probably.
So here's one. This one, they're saying that this was a guardian angel.
Okay.
So, Dad was outside barbecuing. Got a little overexcited with the barbecue. Poof. EMS was called. Log sheet was 1910 for the time.
Okay.
Okay. So they go out. They get there. The guy takes his face, shoves it in the ice water. They say, nope, that's probably not what we should have done, but that's what we did in the heat of the moment. We shoved his face in the ice water. The paramedics arrived. They were packing him up. The log time for that, 1908.
What did you say the first one was?
1910.
They had to intubate him, transport time, 1909. Hospital, 8 minutes away. Arrival time, 1914. All of this was double checked by the FCC. They came in, checked everything, could find no reason for any of this. The fire captain says, we're just going to say it was his guardian angel, bought him an extra 6 minutes to get him here to save his life.
I got chills. I mean, I used to never believe in things like that until the car accident that I was in when I was 16. We were doing 85. I didn't know that until after the trooper informed me of everything.
Yeah.
We were doing 85. We hit the side of the road where there was a ditch. We rolled. Both boys were ejected. I climbed out of the back seat. So much fun, by the way. None of us should have walked out of that accident. We did.
Mm-hmm.
And when we started looking through the pictures is when I was like, okay. Because it happened so quickly. Like, we were driving and then all of a sudden we're not moving anymore. And
right.
then
And your brain blocks most of that stuff.
Right.
Right.
So then you get to the point where we're looking through pictures and the side that I was sitting on was completely indented. And one of the nurses was like, yeah, you should have been killed on impact. But my seatbelt broke. 2.5 seconds prior to us hitting, it broke. I rolled, which the cop even said was the safest place I could have been.
Right.
Because the only place that I have is in between the seats. I'm going to hit the roof. I'm going to hit the floor. That's it. And then the license plate upside down read Amy, which is my aunt's name, who was actually thinking about me that day because she was going to come visit. Ever since then, I was like, well...
Well, then.
I'm like, I wholeheartedly believe that.
Yep.
Because, I mean, you always get the feeling that somebody's watching you.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's some creep with a hat on or,
right.
or your guardian angel, I wholeheartedly believe that. And if they take you out of places, there's a reason for
Right.
it. Mm-hmm. If they take that time away or give you time, there's a reason for it.
Just like they say when you're getting ready to leave and last second you realize, oh crap, I forgot something or I have to go do something. There's a reason you were sent back in there. And I can say 100% I've had that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Where I should have been on the road already, but something kept me from
Yep.
going, and you hear 10,000 sirens going off. I was getting ready to literally do nothing but run from like here to the store. I had clothes in the dryer.
Which one does?
Right. Well, I had this whole mental conversation with myself. Because normally I'm like, nah, I'm going here. It'll be fine. It's 5 minutes, whatever. And I'm like, no. Your dad said don't ever leave the house with something running.
Mm-hmm.
Come back in. Go to shut it off. The freaking inside of my dryer was in the process of melting.
Oh.
I mean, they say that they're supposed to have heat sensors that's supposed to like kick them off for that reason.
Yeah, no, mine
But
wasn't.
they don't. I don't think that they do. I think that whole
Myth.
no. I think it's a thing.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I hate leaving things running. And like right now, my AC is plugged into an extension cord in my kitchen, and I can't. Like,
yeah, I would be obsessing over that in
yeah,
my head too.
every single time. And I've never had anything like that happen to us, but I'm one of those people that constantly thinks about it.
Yep.
So I wholeheartedly believe that.
I don't like leaving things running when I leave either. He constantly yells at me to just throw food in the crock pot. Do you know how many crock pot fires I've heard of?
Yeah.
That petrifies me.
I was literally just today reading about a cat who saved their owner from having a crock pot fire.
Yes.
Everybody wants to, talk about how the reason that we do things and guardian angels and whatnot. And there was one day that I was getting ready to leave for work, and it was before I left. Like, I was still with you guys. I was like, oh crap, I can't find my keys, or it was like my shoes or something, and I had to run back into the house. Well, then I was like 10 minutes late. I got to the light and found out that there had been an accident, and it was pretty bad. That would have been where I needed to be if I hadn't left late. And like, everybody makes fun of me because I sit at the light for a little too long, and I'm like, do you know how many people have just pulled out, like as soon as the light turns green, and they've gotten hit because somebody's running a red light? I always 1, 2, 3 it. And then I'll go. And even then, you have
right.
people.
Even then,
because people they don't pay attention.
No. And they don't care.
No.
Everybody is privileged in their mind.
I mean, I can say that in not thinking I've run a red light because my mind was so distracted, and luckily there was no other traffic. But that scared the crap out of me because, like, I could have just killed somebody.
Yeah.
And I wholeheartedly believe that stuff.
Yep.
There's reasons that things happen.
I have another one. It's just a short little one. It's not really anything big. My last one I'm going to save for last.
Okay.
Okay.
This one was New Year's Eve. Don't know where this was, but it was a family, mom, dad, 2 kids. They were staying in a hotel, motel, whatever. They had planned to watch fireworks that night. That's why they were staying there. They had a balcony. They were going to go sit out. Mom was in the kitchen making little sliders. Takes 20 minutes. The sun had just set. She's in there cooking dinner. As they're plating their food, she hears this noise, and she hears the kids screaming. And she's like, what the heck? And the kids are like, Mom, fireworks, fireworks. And she's like, no, it's probably just somebody getting overzealous and setting off fireworks.
Right.
She looks at her clock, her watch, it's 7 o'clock. Fireworks keep getting louder and louder and more frequent. They go out on the balcony. It's the whole New Year's Eve show. She looks at her watch, it's 12:15.
Wow.
They lost 5 hours between...
I'd be kind of mad that I missed all those fireworks.
Right?
Right.
Like, we got this hotel.
Yeah. We had...
I still don't know how that happened.
I have no idea.
You weren't with us yet.
No, it wasn't.
But we went to the Ross house. That was the one where I had my concussion, right? Yep. Okay. So we get there a few minutes late, as usual.
Yeah.
But we pull in, we start unloading our stuff, and we're trying to decide usually, like, when we get placed, we're like, all right, what are we going to eat? Because then we usually just snack the rest of the night.
Yeah.
So we're going through, we find this pizza place, they have it delivered. We're sitting outside, we're sitting outside.
No, we were in that front room.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so, yes, we were sitting outside talking, and then we went inside to eat. So if you walk through, there's, like, a living room, and there's, like, this dining room area. So we were sitting there talking, and we were eating. And then all of a sudden, April goes, are we going to get started? And it's like 9 o'clock. We showed up at like 6. We were like, I was like, it's not 9. I'm like, we just got here. I looked down at my phone. The last time I remember was like 6:35.
Yeah.
I looked down at my phone. It's 9:40. And I was like...
We literally each ate 2 pieces of pizza.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not like we sat there and kept eating and talking.
And I have the same process, which is while we're eating, I'll start unloading our equipment, getting everything set up, checking batteries, everything like that. And she's like, are we going to get started? And I'm like, well, I still have to do this. We're not quite ready yet. And she's like, but it's almost 10. I'm like, What?
When?
I don't even know how that happened.
No, every single one of us was looking at our clocks or phones or watches.
But, I mean, because
nobody could figure out what happened.
I mean, because even Brian's dad was like, it's not 10, and he's a fireman.
Yeah.
And he was like, where did the time go?
Yeah.
Like, we were all so confused.
And this...
But it happened a lot.
It happened a few more times, not to that extent, but a few more times through that night, it kept happening. We would be sitting in a room. We're like, all right, we'll stay in this room for like 20 minutes
right,
or
because
so.
at this point, we had more people, so we could do like 2 people to a room, and then some of us would even like rotate people. At some point, we all had like the same type of, what time is it?
Yeah. We're like, all right, we'll be here for like 20 minutes, and then we'll rotate rooms. Like an hour later, we're like, what happened?
And a lot of it was just like us sitting there like talking. Like we weren't really investigating. Like we were, but we weren't. We were just trying to like get things going.
Yeah, and we have a system that we know if we do spirit box, 5-10 minutes.
Right.
Okay. Pendulum, 5 minutes. So it's not like we did 5 things that would have wasted an hour.
Yeah. I mean, even when we went to bed, like, because you and I were in the living room, and the last thing that I remember is you and I talking. We were ready to leave because we were both not in a good headspace.
Yeah, it was not a good.
I remember setting my phone down and be like, cool, I'm just going to leave this recording while we're sleeping. And then next thing I know, it's morning. I'm like...
My night was a little...
Everybody's like getting ready to leave and whatnot, and I'm like... What time is it? Like, I was so confused.
I just kept getting pulled off the chair all night long.
Yeah.
So I, like, got no sleep. And I was already, like, ready to murder.
Yeah.
And I kept getting pulled off.
Yeah.
Well, then we found out that there was a spirit that was his chair. Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we had that. I don't know if we ever found out if any of the other groups that had been there had time issues like that.
No.
No, we didn't get a chance to really read the book that was there, but yeah, that was...
I've followed, I've read, like, some of the notes, but I don't specifically remember anybody... When you're writing down the highlights of the night, I don't know if that would be something that the average person would write or not.
But yeah, like, I mean, I remember us sitting there talking, unloading our stuff, getting the pizza delivered, and then... That was it.
We ate our 2 pieces of pizza, and it was Brian's birthday, so we had gotten a brownie.
Yeah.
We put the candle on the brownie, and that's when we realized what time it was.
Yeah.
Because we're like, all right, well, or was it right before that we realized what time it was, and we're like, well, crap, we got to sing him happy birthday and get moving.
Yeah. I mean, it was... And it didn't even feel like anything had changed.
No.
It was just one to the other. And that was how the night went.
Yeah. We were...
Because I remember sitting in some rooms when I'm like, all right, look up. Because usually, like, I like to check to see what time it is. Because my camera batteries, like with the old camera, they didn't last very long. So I'm like, all right, check the time. This is usually how long they last. Switch it out and we'll be good. But there were times that I would look down and then I'd look down again. And I'm like, well, we've been here for 2 hours. That house is just one whole big... Blah.
It is.
Yeah.
I don't really have... I do want to go back, though.
I just know of a couple, random stories. Like, I've heard of one where, back to truck drivers, it was a semi-truck driver, driving in the night, always had his phone on him, always, was able, safely respond to people.
Don't text and drive.
No texting and driving.
Yes. And then all of a sudden, no one could get a hold of him, and he's, just driving like normal, and... To him, he got to a place where he should have been way faster, like hours faster than he should have. To everyone else, he was off of the face of the earth for hours. No one could get a hold of him. No one knew where he was. And his daughter was usually he checks in and whatnot.
Right.
And he had just disappeared until he'd shown back up in his, shown back up on his phone or whatnot, where he was supposed to be. And it's why weren't you responding? He's like, I don't know how I got here so fast.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially the long haul truckers who travel from one state to another. They're like, oh yeah, I made it here. And a lot of the time, the people, their dispatch people are like, how?
Yeah, and they don't stop for gas.
No.
They don't stop for food.
And a lot of the newer trucks have like time logs and stuff in their trucks. So like they're constantly recording and like the dispatch is watching it, they're watching it, everything is matching up and they're like, how? Like how did you get there with like at least, and you know, some of it's like hours early.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not generally because they're speeding because you shouldn't be speeding.
Right.
Too
Well, a
much.
lot of the trucks, like it has a monitor that monitors the speed and whatnot. And they can't figure out why.
There was a guy, I don't remember all the specifics, but I'm sure you heard of it. He was in New York, I think, and he was getting like on the subway or something and just poofed and disappeared and showed up on a ski resort in California. No clue.
Free vacation.
Right.
Yeah. He never got on the subway or whatever it was he was going to do. He just vanished. And then next thing you know, he shows up there and he has no idea how he got there.
I've heard that story. A lot of people like made it sound like he was like crazy.
Yeah.
Because I think even his family was like, how did you get there? Because they weren't even in the same state as him. Weird. Traveling from like one side of like your state to another is like one thing, but going from one state to another without...
Especially from like one side of the United States to another.
The whole other side.
Right, with no car.
Yeah.
No money, no tickets, no nothing.
No recollection of how you got there.
Yeah. They're going to put you in a padded room.
Right. There was...
You got to give yourself a little hug.
There was...
Do they do that anymore?
I don't know. Probably if you're like
I don't know.
self-destructive.
Last time I went, they still did, but no, I don't know. They
Free vacation.
right.
It's my grippy sock vacation.
You get 3 hots and a cot with a hug.
That sounds like a nightmare.
No, it's a great time.
They give you all these wonderful pills and they make you so happy. So there was something with the time frame too. Again, I don't remember the whole thing because it was one of those I heard about it and wasn't really totally paying attention, but there was the time frame didn't match up either from how he got to A to B.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Considering from... And the only reason I know this is because my uncle has done it. It took him about a week to get from California to Ohio, but they went through like Canada, and they also made some stops in
3
between.
days?
I mean, it's...
We've done it multiple times.
Yeah. But to do that and not have any memory of that, that scared the hell out of me.
Or a paper trail at the very least, because you're going to need food. For,
Right.
Like y'all said, 4 days,
Right.
4 days. You're going to need to eat something.
Your debit card or credit card should have registered somewhere.
Right.
And this was like in today's day and age, so his face should have shown up
on a camera somewhere.
Well, I mean, you hear about all those like missing 411 pages where people are like, oh yeah, I was here and then all of a sudden I'm here and I've got posters with my face on them, but I don't know why. And then they just show up like at home.
That falls into my last one. I like this one a lot because he has what he thinks could be a potential reason these things happen that does not include the owl. So, this guy, Rodney Davies, he's a paranormal researcher and an author. His book is Time Slips, Journey into Past and Future. I haven't read it, but I might have to put that on the list. Mm-hmm. One theory he has is past, present, future. Mm-hmm. They're all going on at the same time. But our level of consciousness can only experience
one at a time,
which is what we consider the present.
Mm-hmm.
So when you slip out of the present, you slip like the guy with the gas station. Driving along in the present, all of a sudden, whoop, he slips into the past. It's all going on at the same time, but his consciousness picks up that instead of the present. Mm. So that's one theory. Now, he expands on that a little further with his other theory with missing people. Could this explain why so many people go missing? They're just doing their normal routine in the present and they slip. that would explain all the
Just disappeared
yeah,
ones.
Right.
disappeared. There's no body, there's no money trail, there's nothing.
There's no struggle. There's no, like, suspected kidnapper or anything.
Yeah.
They're just gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that was wild.
I don't discredit it.
Yeah.
No.
Things happen for less.
Especially in, like, national parks and whatnot. So many people just disappeared.
Oh, yeah.
In parks.
And if you trace back stories and stuff, like one of his things is a lot of these slips happen in places where there has been a lot of, not necessarily turmoil, but a lot of things, emotional things.
Right.
Could be good things, bad things, whatever. We all know,
history to the place.
we all know
Right.
that stirs up energy. What does energy do?
I mean, a lot of people that have gone missing are, like, they hike.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hikers. There are people that have said that they hike this same path or whatever
Right.
frequently, and then all of a sudden they're just like,
And they have things put in place that if something were to happen in this spot, this is what I do. If things
Right.
happen in this spot, this is what I do.
right, and they're just gone.
Yeah.
And people are like, but he's an experienced hiker. He's done this, same trail millions of times. Like, what happened this time that was different?
There's no sign of a struggle to where somebody came and grabbed him.
Or in
There's
hiking
no-
case, like an animal.
Right. There's no remains anywhere.
And that would explain why, at least in my mind, a lot of why it's a slip into the past versus the future. Because in the way I understand it, it'd probably be easier to slip into the past versus
Right.
the future.
Right.
Right.
Because in my brain, your consciousness can grasp the past
Right.
better than the future.
Yeah.
Right.
Because future's just like
And like,
an enigma.
right, because how many times have you lived this life?
If you go back down this wormhole, there's all those random pictures out there that show people that don't quite fit.
Right.
Like there's a lot of black and white pictures where somebody says, look, they're holding a cell phone. Or look, they don't have the right clothes on.
Right.
There's some I can't remember the name of it, but there's one very famous
Yeah.
one of those where he has his whole story of time traveling, and there are photos of him,
Yeah.
and they're like, your clothes are decidedly different than everyone around you.
Right.
Right.
For no reason.
Yeah.
So building on that, not only past, present, future consciousness, then you add in the whole timelines and the whole dimensions. There's a whole host of things that could happen to people when they go missing. You may have just slipped the timelines. You may have popped into the whole other dimension. Because how many stories are there where people are walking along and they see themselves?
Everybody has a twin out there.
And usually when that happens, it's the two dimensions that are overlapping. So now,
I don't like that thought.
right?
No, that, ugh.
That's why I said
don't
my
like-
last one was going to be a good one, because that
I don't like that thought
I
at
don't
all.
like to think about it too much. It confuses me.
my brain has a hard time grasping all of that, but there's so much with it that makes sense.
It's a good theory. I just don't like what it implies.
I don't
Yeah.
either, but I still like it better than the owls.
Yeah.
We know how you feel about the owls.
We're going to send them all to you.
It's fine.
I'll join
Put
you.
big arrows. All right, on that note, we will be at the Mid-Michigan.
Paranormal Convention,
Yes.
October 26th and 27th.
Tickets are on sale, so come see us and a whole host of
Other
big
people.
names in the
Yeah.
paranormal world. We will have some merch. We will have all kinds of cool things for you to come and see. We'll have some equipment out. We'll have some, hopefully, assuming
Everything
technology cooperates, we will have some pictures and EVPs and stuff for you to look at.
Meet and greet.
Meet and greet. If you know any local haunts there, this is going to be at the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort,
Yep.
Mount Pleasant.
Yes,
Yep.
Mount Pleasant.
So if you know any cool haunts around there, let us know. I think that's it.
I think
Until next time.
Yep, yep.
Bye.
Bye, guys.